So we skipped the lesson where they made a quiz where you had different options to pick from. I tried to make this one really simple, so you could still feel free to add stuff without me having shown you how to do it. But basically, one thing I did want to show you, and I did this in an example that was to help people, but I know not everyone watched it. Whatever I put in design view, I find is really nice to just put in the comments at the top. So this is all of my components in screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3. And then when I'm coding, I don't have to worry about going back to design view, which I find to be annoying. So the first thing I did was on my second page, depending on which you pick, I bring up a picture. So I felt like having these URLs in my actual code down here was kind of messy. So I just set pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, and pick 4. Then I also have messages for whatever people pick, so I put those also as variables too, just to kind of clean up the main part of my code. So one thing I did was, and I'm actually going to come back to my function in a second, depending on which of the 4 buttons you picked, math, science, Euro, or Google, I run this message screen function with 2 parameters. You'll see a picture and the message. So down here, I set the image URL to the picture. So if they pick math, it goes to picture 1, pick science, it goes to picture 2, and so on. And then I set the text to whichever one of these messages goes with that answer they picked. And this is just something I decided to do. You could have a straight quiz that said things are right or wrong with points, thinking about those things, because I don't really have a lot of mathematical or logical concepts in here, just kind of set up the quiz. And then I also, all of this information, the image and the message is on screen 2. So after those things are set, it takes you to screen 2. Now you'll see when they click the math button, this looks like it has the simplest code. That's because the answer I want people to pick. If you pick any of the other 3 functions, I use this set timeout function. If you have questions on that, I have a whole video on the time parts of App Lab since we didn't do that in the regular lessons. If you go into control, all of those blocks are down here, or you could type it. So the set timeout function, if you remember, is going to wait this many milliseconds, which is at the bottom. Okay, I'm just going to pull in one of those just as a reminder. So basically it says set timeout function. This is set at 1 second or 1000 milliseconds. I made mine 4000 to be 4 seconds. And then whatever you want it to do when a certain amount of time runs out after this event after that clicking on the button happened. So I want it to do all this stuff and keep doing it for 4 seconds. And when it reaches the end of those 4 seconds, I want to set the screen back to screen 1. So if you look at the code, the same timeout function is in each of those other buttons. There's a little bit more functionality if they pick the right answer, which is math is the one I want them to pick. You'll see on the screen 2, there's the next button. They can click that and go to screen 3. So I'm going to press run now. So I'll go through the wrong options, like what is the best subject? Science. And then it says only if it's computer science, try again. And you'll see it waits 4 seconds and then goes back. AP Euro, put a little bit of egg ink in there, little joke there. Anything with Google Meet, latest conspiracy theory, you started the coronavirus, try again. I don't know if anyone's a big fan of Google Meet. And then if I click math, it says you are correct and also smart. And then I could click go to next question. So it says another question could go here. You could also hide or change properties of elements on the first screen to make a new question that way. So that would involve using your UI controls. You could hide different elements. Let me just find that. You can show elements, like you could actually hide or change, set the text to something else. So you can actually, from that first screen, just create a whole new question, like change the label, change all that good stuff. Okay. So other things, as I said, if you wanted to add mathematical or logical concepts, you could set up some sort of point system. You could keep your yes or no answers correct or incorrect in a list or things like that. There's a lot of things you could add to this, extra questions, aiming for a complex enough program for the create task.